All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I have 2 o'clock on my official iPhone time, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. My name is Emily Bell, and I'm the Communications Coordinator for the Florida Wildflower Foundation. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Seeds of Knowledge Demonstration Garden Grant. We'd love for you to say hi in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. For those of you not familiar with our organization, our mission is to protect, connect, and expand native wildflower habitats through our education, research, planting, and conservation programs. Our work is made possible primarily through sales and renewals of the Florida State Wildflower license plate. These funds, along with donations and memberships, allow us to support and create projects that build awareness and knowledge of native wildflowers and plants throughout Florida. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of the plate being on the road. We'd like to encourage those of you who find our programs valuable to consider becoming a member, making a donation, or purchasing the state wildflower license plate. If you purchase or have the wildflower plate, you're eligible for a membership, so just let us know you have the tag and we'll get you set up in our database. Be sure also to check out our website for resources on planting and growing wildflowers, to learn where to see wildflowers in bloom, for upcoming events, and more. We're also on social media. You can find us on most platforms at FLA Wildflowers. We've got some great events coming up, but we are taking a break in December for the holidays. We'll be back with our webinars in January, and on January 21st, we have Florida's native flowering trees and shrubs presented by Commercial and Residential Horticulture Extension Agent for UF-IFAS Extension, Leon County, Mark Tansig. Mark will highlight Florida native trees and shrubs known for their showy floral displays and cover best practices for planting and maintaining them. And this is in concert with Florida Arbor Day, which occurs on the third Friday of every January. Also, stay tuned for many great field trips coming up in the new year. We're partnering with the Nature Conservancy and the Florida Native Plant Society to visit Apalachicola Bluffs and Ravines Preserve on February 14th. Join us to see the largest natural geologic exposure in Florida at Alum Bluff, and a forest so beautiful, locals call it the Garden of Eden. We also have a field trip to Archibald Biological Station planned for March, and a field trip to Deer Lake State Park in Walton County in April. These field trips are sure to be popular and fill up fast, so sign up as a member of the Florida Wildflower Foundation to ensure an opportunity to register early. To keep up with everything going on, just be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, or check out flawildflowers.org/events to stay abreast of our webinar and field trip opportunities. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. All attendees are muted with cameras off. If you have questions, please use the Q&A feature to submit them. The chat is active, but we do not monitor it for questions, so please use that Q&A. We will address questions at the end of the talk as time permits. And if your question is not answered, you can email it to info@flawildflowers.org. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website and YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours. When it is available, you'll receive an email from us with a link to the recording along with the resource page with links from the webinar. Finally, I would like to introduce our speaker, our very own Marina Mertz. She's a native Floridian with a passion for preserving Florida's beauty and for future generations. She began her work with the Florida Wildflower Foundation in 2022 as a contractor serving as the Panhandle Wildflower Alliance liaison. In 2024, she transitioned to a full-time role as the Roadsides and North Florida Programs Coordinator, where she continues to work with local advocates, foundation members, municipalities, and FDOT to establish and maintain wildflower corridors on roadsides, utility easements, public gardens, libraries, and schools. Marina holds a bachelor's degree in environmental studies and a graduate certificate in urban and regional planning from Florida State University. She's also a certified master naturalist and has a level 2 cyber tracker animal track and sign certificate. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Marina. Just give us a moment to switch presentations.
Here I am. Okay, can you see that, Emily?
Looks good.
Okay, great. All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Emily, for that introduction. I'm going to get right into it. So I'm so excited to be with you all here today to talk about the newest grant offered through the Florida Wildflower Foundation. So beginning in January, we'll be opening up the applications for the full program for the very first time. We have piloted this grant twice now with 8 different gardens. And throughout today's presentation, you'll see photos from those pilot sites. Everything you see is from real libraries that have already received this grant. Today, my goal is to give you all the information you'll need to confidently and successfully apply for the Seeds of Knowledge grant. We'll talk about why we chose libraries for this project, the goals and the details of the grant, the eligibility and requirements. We'll go through the application itself, and then I'll share some examples and inspiration from those pilot sites. We'll wrap up with plenty of time for questions. That might be the most important thing we do today. And I will answer as many as I can before that 3 p.m. cutoff. But if we miss you, we will follow up via email. And of course, you're always welcome to reach out to me directly with those questions. And if you haven't yet, I would love if you'd introduce yourself in the chat and also note what library you're with in the comments. That'd be great. Okay. So why libraries? Some of you might know that we already offer a few planting grants. We have our Viva Florida grant and our Seedling for Schools grant. A number of libraries have already received those grants, and you'll see some examples of those libraries today. Libraries truly were the like most logical next step for us to build a program around because our mission focuses on education and our core values align so closely with public libraries. Libraries are hubs of learning and connection and community. They reach a wonderfully diverse audience. It's important that we reach not only the people who are actively seeking out native plant information, but also everyone else who just happens to wander through that space. Who knows what might happen when like an 11-year-old walks down a garden path on her way to check out the first cat in space eats pizza. Maybe she'll be the next Lady Bird Johnson, right? Maybe a job seeker coming in to update a resume might pick up a free seed packet and discover a love for plants that leads them into horticulture. The possibilities are endless when you partner with such powerful community institutions such as libraries. So our grant objectives. What are we trying to accomplish with this grant? At the heart of it, we're creating public-facing native plant demonstration gardens at libraries across Florida. These gardens serve 2 major purposes. One, they provide this genuine pollinator habitat in urban and suburban areas. And they act as living classrooms where visitors can see how Florida native plants can be used in everyday landscapes. Education is central to the program. We support libraries with interpretive signage and printed or digital materials to help visitors learn while they explore the gardens. We also help establish seed libraries alongside the plantings. So the grantees of the grant receive native seed packets from the Florida Wildflower Growers Co-op, so visitors can take home seeds and hopefully start planting natives themselves. Each garden must be maintained for at least 1 year. Grantees send periodic updates with photos and visitor engagement info via a semi-annual online survey. It's easy. After that first successful year, libraries then become eligible to continue receiving seed packets twice a year. So overall, the goal is to create vibrant, sustainable spaces that showcase the beauty and the value of Florida native plants while giving communities hands-on ways to learn, engage, and support pollinators. So funding and some requirements. Funding for the demonstration garden is up to $750 per project. There is no size requirement for the garden, so you can request less funding. At least 80% of that must be used for Florida native plants. And then the remainder of that funding can go towards signage, labels, pine straw mulch, tools, or other materials. Again, you must establish and maintain a seed library on site with those Florida native ecotype seeds. and they must be made available to the public. The foundation provides seeds twice a year that are appropriate for your region. Seed libraries don't have to be fancy. You'll see a few examples here. Some libraries incorporate native seeds into their existing vegetable or ornamental seed libraries. So if you already have a seed library, you can incorporate the native seeds into that. Fort White Library, they have a really cool reservation system where volunteers package the seed orders like they do for reserved books on hold. Others simply set out a small basket for patrons to browse the seed. A shoebox or a whole filing cabinet system, all of it works. And if you need any ideas for your seed library, I'm more than happy to help with that as well. So eligibility is limited to Florida-based public libraries. You must demonstrate the ability to plant and care for your garden. We ask questions like, how much sun does it get? How do you plan to water it? Things like that to determine it. And you must demonstrate the ability to provide educational programming relevant to the planting. That's like hosting a talk or a garden tour. Projects should aim to increase visitor awareness of the benefits and beauty of native wildflowers by showing how they can work in cultivated landscapes. And then here's the big one, right? Projects must be exclusively and distinctly native. This is important. We're looking for gardens that showcase Florida native plants only. No non-natives or ornamentals mixed in. That's essential for both the ecological purpose of the project and for our educational message. So we also strongly encourage partnering with community volunteers or organizations, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. Okay. Planting site requirements. Projects must be in a publicly accessible area on the library campus. So, your application might be weighed a little bit more favorably if your garden is in the front of the library versus like back by the dumpster. So you want to make sure that these are publicly accessible areas so people can visit the garden. And the planting site must be properly prepared before installing plants. That could include removing turf or non-native plants. And all plants must be native to Florida, again, and they must be appropriate for the region and the site conditions. We also ask that you purchase them from either the Wildflower Growers Co-op, if you're getting seed, a fan-approved nursery, or other retail outlets that specialize in Florida natives, so no big box stores. Again, if you have questions about sourcing, I'm happy to help direct you to a local nursery. Someone's going to drop the link to FAN's directory in the chat as well. That's a great resource. We just want to make sure that we are actually getting native plants, and sometimes that can get a little bit muddied with those larger stores. Then the planting must remain in place and be maintained for at least 1 year from installation. Hopefully these gardens are forever and you plan on having them for a really long time, but 1 year is the minimum there. Okay, so education and outreach requirements. This is the thing that libraries are already doing a great job of, right? So we're just going to ask that they tailor a little bit of it to the native plant education. So each project must include a native plant related program or workshop, plant ID signs or list, informational handouts or brochures, and at least one media outreach effort within 60 days of installation, such as a newspaper article, a community newsletter piece, or a short video. I have an example of a newsletter piece that will be thrown up in the chat. And yeah, that's really simple. You can just send a press release out to your local newspaper. If you need help with that, again, we are happy to help. We also provide an educational sign for the garden unless you prefer to create your own. You do not have to use the sign. And the sign will probably look like this. It might change a little bit, and it will include that QR code. That will lead visitors to our webpage that features all of the library gardens. And so when you click on your garden, then it'll go and have a list of everything you have planted there. And those will link to the information about those specific plants, so people can learn a lot more about what is in your garden. And you can also have additional information about your garden listed there. So you're encouraged to submit extra details, like if you get an award or if you're partnering with someone, we are happy to include that on the website as well. Additional signage is welcome and encouraged. Here are some examples of that. This is our approved sign in place at the Bay County Library. This is in Fort White, Columbia County. They use these IFAS signs. This was a garden that has been in place for a while, and they used the grant funds to help transition it to all native. And so this IFAS sign has been there for a while, but it still would fulfill our requirement of an education sign because it has a lot of great information on it and is relevant to the planting. So here are some flyers in a great little waterproof box. This is again in Bay County. So that's a great way to get information out to folks. People don't even have to come into the library if they're visiting the garden only. And then lots of folks love these individual plant ID signs. There are a lot of different ways to incorporate education. This is a sign at Gulf County Library. They are previous recipients of a Viva Florida grant from us. And so this sign is up from that previous grant and still applies. And so they'll put up some more signage with this grant as well. But again, it has lots of great information on it. So here is a close-up of those small individual signs. A lot of people like to have QR codes, and those would go to our plant profiles. If you'd like, we can help you with, making these. I know libraries probably do not need help with this stuff. You guys are great with all this, but if you do, we are happy to help. I have some great resources, even on like good UV laminating paper for the signs and things like that. And that's just some more individual signs. So these do not have a QR code, but they are very cute and they have lots of information on them. There are, again, so many different creative ways to incorporate education. That is a cute little sandwich board. And you can see all their partners down there on the bottom of it. So we also offer a variety of brochures and handouts. And so those are available as PDFs. You can just print them yourself. Or if you'd like to request them, you can do that as well. We have everything from attracting birds to native aquatic plants, lots of different stuff that is great to have with your seed library or out at events. So let's now explore the application together. So the application, it's fully online and it must be completed in one sitting. You cannot save your place. I mean, you can get up and you can walk away and you can come back to it, but if you exit out of it and you come back, it won't save your information. So I recommend opening that form, and looking at and any questions that you have, you can copy the questions onto a document, getting everything together you need so that you can prepare beforehand. You're going to need your budget and you're going to need your garden design to upload. And we'll show examples of those shortly. So we will ask for your project lead, and that is the person that I will be emailing with updates and the award notifications. So this is a person who's like the main point of contact between me and the garden project. We will also ask for the library administrator. So that may or may not be the same person, but you do have to ask permission from them to apply. So say if you're friends of the library group and your lead person is a volunteer, that is great, but you do need to get the library administrator's permission to do this project. Partnerships are strongly encouraged. Some libraries will have the staff with all the necessary skills, but many benefit from teaming up with groups like Master Gardener, Audubon, FNPS chapters, garden clubs, and others. It works best when you already have a relationship in place, and that adds to the strength of your application. So if you already host meetings for Master Gardeners, or if they already have a vegetable bed, at the library, partnering with them on this project usually makes the process pretty seamless and adds to the strength of your application. Okay, and for that project budget, there's two examples here. Again, they do not need to be elaborate. You can just get a quote from a local native nursery. You have your design and you can send them a list. I want these plants, and they'll give you a quote. That works out perfectly for us. If you have something broad like additional funding will be used for this, we might send you a question, ask you what If you have some quotes for that, a little bit more information. So the more specific you can be, the better. But they don't have to be in a specific format. Typed out like that is fine, or in an Excel spreadsheet. Both of those are great. And then for your garden design, again, it does not need to be fancy. Please don't be intimidated by this. Hand-drawn designs are absolutely fine. No one is judging anyone's artistic ability. These are all great. They let us know what is going on. Perfect. You can draw a picture and then take a picture with your phone and upload it. That works for me. All of these are great examples of that. But, if you want to send a beautiful watercolor, that's fine too. I don't mind getting to look at this beautiful art. This is from Tavares Library, and they did send us a little bit more information about what was going to be planted in there, but just thought I'd show you that wonderful watercolor. And then I did just want to mention Canva. It's a free online program. I'm sure a lot of you have it and use it for other things. I find it useful for garden designs. This is one that was submitted that maybe used Canva. So if something like this is more your speed versus hand drawing, that's a great resource as well. So when you finish the application and hit submit, you might see this screen. If you see a screen that has any red notes or it doesn't show submitted, you have not submitted yet. You want to fix anything marked in red. Then you'll have to reattach any documents that you have attached, and then you'll need to submit again. So again, just scroll all the way back up to the top and you'll see that, that red marking if you have not submitted correctly. If everything goes through, you will see this confirmation screen. If you do not see this confirmation screen, do not navigate away until you see this screen, because otherwise your progress will be lost. If you are stuck at the other one, call me, my phone number. I have a phone number you can reach me on, or we can work on it via email or something. But if you navigate away, you will lose your progress. So make sure you see this screen here. So now I just want to highlight Bay County Public Library. This is from the pilot program. It was a wonderful project. They actually just were awarded Yard of the Month a few days ago, so congratulations to them. I thought that was really fantastic. This project is a great example of collaboration among multiple organizations, and I also really wanted to show it today because it shows how a small space can still make a huge impact. This garden is only a few feet wide, running along the building next to the sidewalk. And it's stunning. You notice it immediately when you approach the entrance, despite its small size. It's incredibly impactful. So Robin, their library administrator, told me that she felt confident applying because she knew that if the volunteers ever tapered off, she could still maintain it herself. It's tempting to dream big with a large garden, but remember, small spaces count too. If all you can manage is a 4x4 raised bed, that's great. You still get access to the full seed library component, no matter the size of the demonstration garden. So the demonstration garden can be small, and we do encourage you to apply even if you have a small garden. So now here are some important dates. January 1 is when the application opens, so you'll be able to see the application then. I encourage you to go ahead and put that on your calendar so you can go look at it. You have a month and a half until February 15th when that application closes. Then there's a pretty quick turnaround. We will notify you if your submission was accepted or denied. So if you get a denial, we'll probably give you some feedback. So if you want to apply again, you can. And that's when we will be sending requests for invoices at that time. And then by February 18th, if we have those invoices back, we will send out our letters of agreement, and that will trigger the initial payments when we get the receipt of the signed letter of agreement. Then on March 15th, we will get spring seed packets sent out to you. Those will go directly to you. And then on August 25th, we will send out some initial surveys. Those are online again. And then September 15th, you will get fall seed packets sent out to you again. You don't see a planting date here. That will be specified by you, so you can figure out what works out best with your volunteers and the resources you have for planting. Okay. I also just want to quickly mention the Viva Florida Landscape Demonstration Garden Grant program again. If you've listened to all this and thought, well, that's great, but I have a much bigger project in mind, the Viva Florida grant might be a better fit. So it opens at the same time, and several libraries have received it, including that Gulf County Library, who later piloted the Seed the Library grant to expand their plantings and add the seed library. So it's a much larger funding opportunity if that is something you want to check out. I encourage you to go ahead and look at that information. Okay, so now let's open it up for any questions that people have. Nothing comes to mind right now, but you think of something. Here is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to help. I am heading out of town for a bit right after this webinar. So I will be back in December and we'll be reaching out to anyone that has questions then.
Thank you, Marina. That was fantastic. So if you do have any questions, now would be a great time to put them in the chat box. Marina, I have a question that came to mind when you were doing this, and I think I know the answer from having visited a few gardens, but I wanted to clarify. If the garden already had, or sorry, if the library has existing landscaping that's not native, um, you can still do a Seeds of Knowledge garden in an area. It just has to be clearly delineated and separated from the additional landscaping. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, because I mean most libraries will have, county supplied landscaping around them, some trees, some shrubs, things like that. So it just needs to be a distinctive native planting that's separated out somehow, either, with maybe a border or just visually it could be like one part of a lawn, something like that. So you do not need to have all native landscaping surrounding your library.
Great, thank you. So we did just get a question about price points for the grant awards. You said the highest award would be $750. Is that correct? What are some of the smaller grant awards?
So we don't have like points. So if you would just need to draw up your design and get a quote and figure out what that is. So if you get your design drawn up and you only need $400, please only request $400 because we will need those invoices and receipts from you. So if you have a design and say know you're going to get a bunch of plants donated from IFAS or from Florida Native Plant Society, and you don't really need that much funding, you can ask for $100. You could ask for $50. Like that doesn't preclude you from then getting the seed component as well. So if you're mostly needing the seed library component, we can do a very small garden grant.
Great. Can you speak to the quantity of seeds that are supplied in the initial year and then in the following years?
Yeah, so it'll be like 5 full seed packets from the Florida Growers Co-op. And then what we have been seeing happening is that, so different species, sorry, 5 different species sent, and it's like a full seed packet from the Florida Growers Co-op. And then, so it's like $50 worth of seed from them. And you will probably want to repackage it into smaller amounts, like you do similarly with vegetables or other things. At least that's how I've seen it with most libraries are getting these seed packets. And there are like commercial size seed packets. So it's way more seed packets than most people give out for free. So the libraries have been taking those seed packets and breaking them down smaller and giving out smaller amount of seeds. And they've been able to get 50 to 100 seed packets per shipment.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have had a question. Sorry, let me just clear this one. We have had a question regarding the security of our QR codes. And I reached out for some help from other staff on that question. The QR codes on the signage are printed directly on the sign. So it would be difficult to alter that without it being really obvious that it was covered. We also encourage folks to look at the URL before they click on any links provided. All of ours will go to FLA Wildflowers URL. And then it really kind of ends up being on the user's side to ensure they're going to the right link so that we don't have complete control in that way. But again, they are on, if it's on the main sign, it's printed directly there. So it would be hard to just put something on top of that without it being evident. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Are there some more in-depth resources you recommend for getting even more prepared for the garden care involved? Um,
Um,
I I read this question as being as asking how much maintenance will be required for the garden. Do you want to speak to that, Marina?
Sure. Yeah, so I would, it's going to depend, like the maintenance will depend on the plants that you pick. And they will depend on, how good your site prep is, and they will depend on where you are in Florida. It's very different up here. I'm in the Panhandle, and so maintenance is very different up here than is down in South Florida. If you have invasive pressure, or if not. So I would really recommend reaching out to an extension agent in your area. I think that they'd be able to give you some really good tips and resources because they're going to be local. And they can come and they can have a master gardener come out to your specific site and give you some site prep information and stuff like that. I'm happy to do so via photos and, a distance. And I know that the rest of my team is really great at that stuff as well. So you can either reach out to us or your local IFAS extension agents as well. And then if you have a an FNPS chapter near you, that is another really great resource. A lot of times they have members who are willing to help out with projects like this.
Great. Yeah, and I will say that our team, and I know Marina as well, is really, we work really closely with you to make sure you have all the information you need. We do have a webinar on landscape, kind of just in general on native landscape design, so we can look that up. We also had a recommendation in the chat of The Art of Maintaining a Florida Native Landscape is a book that was recommended. What are the garden's irrigation requirements? And do you have examples of other gardens that have irrigation? Do you want to speak to that, Marina, or I can either way?
Sure. So we do require that you are able to water the garden for establishment, but most native gardens will not need like a full irrigation system. If we are in an extended drought situation, you will find yourself needing to water the garden. But we do have gardens that have been successful with just volunteers with hoses. You will need to make sure you have a fairly good schedule and robust volunteers for that first installation period if you are just using hand watering with hoses, but that doesn't preclude you from receiving the grant if that is what you need to do in order to establish a garden, because I do know that that can be costly to have an irrigation system installed. But if you already have irrigation, like you're welcome to use that as well. But we will ask about what type of watering system that you have, and make sure you at least have enough water that you can get through the establishment period with the garden.
There's a question here. Have you ever partnered with plant rescue teams?
Just myself or um
I think I would say for the grant related, it would be up to the person receiving the grant if you have a plant rescue team you could partner with to get plant material, if that's the suggestion here. That would be on the person receiving the grants end responsibility to do. I think it would be fine. Marina, I'll defer to you for that. I think anywhere you can source good native plant material, as long as it's legal and ethical and everything that's acceptable. Anything you want to add to that, Marina?
no, I was just going to mention that part just to make sure that you're working with a group that's working legally and ethically to rescue plants. And yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be a great idea to have a demonstration garden and be a recipient garden for some of these plants. Yeah.
And there are some FMPS chapters that have experience with plant rescue. Our foundation itself don't typically have projects directly related to that, also, although sometimes with roadsides,
Mhm.
they've worked with them. And then there was an additional comment that a local garden club might help with maintenance. That's a great suggestion for garden maintenance for volunteers.
Yeah, yeah, we have a great garden here in Leon County. That was one of the first pilot sites for the grant, and that is maintained by a garden club circle here, and it's a great garden.
Hmm. So this is a tricky one. Have you had any issues regarding liability on city or county property? Here in Duval County, the master gardeners have tried for a few years to get a demo garden going at any library, but the red tape between the city of Jax and IFAS stalls the project. Other cities may have a similar problem. Is there anything we can do to assist in that?
I'm really not sure. We haven't run into that issue in any of the pilots. We have, we've done them in Hernando, Bay. We've done them across the state now, and I haven't run into that specifically. A lot of times these are county libraries, so maybe the counties are a little bit easier than state or than cities, but yeah, you could definitely run into some issues. I wonder if it's a size and project issue that you're running into with the city of Jacksonville, because I mean these libraries have landscaping.
This is Duval County.
Oh,
It's a
Duval.
city.
Yeah.
Oh, they do. Oh, no, they do specify. Duval County is funny because the city and county are the same in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
So that's why it's referenced in both ways. Okay. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't allow like native plantings versus the original landscaping. I mean, I'd be happy to dig into that with anyone, but I don't have any like direct experience with this grant with that problem. Yeah.
all right. I'm not seeing anything else come in. So again, if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. As Marina mentioned, she is about to go out of the office for quite a few weeks, but she's phenomenal at responding and working through this process with our grant, our folks applying. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this afternoon, and we will see you again in January.
Yeah, see you then.